This is the garden party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants we grow and some things you might not know. The garden party. Phil, introduce yourself, dude.
What up, everyone? It's Phil from Phil's Figs, your favorite plant parent and regular parent, too. Glad to be back co-hosting the show again.
As always, dude, Phil is my configliere, my Brolo El Cunado. He is my dude, and he's my co-host on the garden party. He's here with me every week. And no, this is not a what is it? What do they call it when they play a rerun from last week? Des is back. Des is back again. She is back.
Repeat offender.
Yeah, she's. We had her stepping in for Roseanne last week, but she was scheduled to come this week because I knew her and Resh would hit it off. So, Des, introduce yourself and let everybody know let everybody know about you, I guess.
Hello, you've probably seen me here before. I'm gardening with Des. I love squirrels and pollinators and native and adapted plants and vegetables, and I will talk about bees nonstop and butterflies. And I'm happy to be back again. Squirrel.
The squirrels don't always love her back.
No, they do not.
I actually have to say that I see squirrels literally and figuratively these days.
What does that mean?
Well, if I see one literally, I literally saw a squirrel and I'm like, oh, let me go feed that a peanut. And then if I see one figuratively, I've just gone off on an ADD like quest. Side quest.
There's something in the water in Austin, you know. It's in the water.
Are you calling weird?
No. Austin's supposed to be weird. That's what it's supposed to be like.
You're supposed to call me weird.
Yes. Well, weird is a state of mind. And we got our return guest, one of our favorite authors, Miss Resh Gala, and I believe your book came out recently. Me and Phil both got to go. Des, you didn't plan ahead.
No
Here. I wish I could pass it to you through the screen.
There you go. One of the first things I did say to her was congratulations.
Yes.
You did. You were on it.
Oh my goodness. Resh, go ahead and introduce yourself, Resh.
So I'm Resh, and I'm an organic gardener from New Jersey. I design and install edible organic gardens in Jersey, in parts of Pennsylvania, as well as parts of New York. And I'm a recent author, as all of you mentioned. I have my book that just came out a couple of months ago called Vegetable Gardening Made Easy. And it's my mission to help people grow their own food and grow their best life. And Des, I'm not so fond of squirrels because this past fall and winter, I have this really cute picnic table that I've put up, on top of my tree for a squirrel. It's like a little picnic bench. And it's got this nail that you can, put a cob of corn on it.
Yeah.
And the squirrels love to sit there and eat. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that they were burying some of that extra corn because they must have eaten so much of burying it in my garden. And I would keep planting some spinach and bok choy, and they would keep digging up to find that corn that they had buried a couple of months ago. So I'm like, they're naughty.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like them either.
With the peanut, I plant the plant on top of the peanut.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
They're responsible for 50 water oaks in my yard because they keep taking all the acorns and planting.
That's
really?
why I call them farmer squirrel.
Farmer squirrels, they are.
Yeah. Squirrel farming is a lucrative business for them.
That's so funny. Well, it was. I started a new position at work this week, and I'm in an office setting, which I'm not really used to. Thank you very much. And as soon as I was telling Des this before y'all hopped on, I walked in the office and went to my first meeting Monday morning, and this girl I've never seen before looks at me. She goes, "I follow you on TikTok," and I was like, "Man,"
You're famous. Nice.
I was like, "Dang, man!"
You made it.
And so, a couple people already knew who I was, and like, "Hey, you got any trees available right now?" And some of them were not my bosses, but higher up than me. And I was like, "Ooh, I got half price figs in my house. I'll sell some $10 figs to these guys at work and get in good with them." So I sold 10 fig trees this week.
Oh, that's Awesome.
Dang, there you go.
That
Congrats,
is
man.
so good. And
It's so nice.
that's the thing I think a lot of us don't realize, but just by gardening and sharing so much of, gardening content on social media, I think we're building a community. And that is
Yes.
honestly, I think it's the best part. Like just us here right now and whoever else is watching and listening as well. And like for you at work, I mean, how awesome is that, right?
It's so much.
Mhm.
It's so much fun. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I get jazzed helping people grow stuff. Like so like when people are like, help me with my fig tree, I almost call it like free account management, and at least I can do that for now. And I have the best relationships and best customers I have are the ones that like I've kind of coached along the way to growing their own fig trees. And
Yeah.
it gets you just as pumped to help them get their own tree as it is just to sell the fig trees or just grow them on your own too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's so funny because like I'm not like a person who looks at their analytics a lot, but I do look at my analytics like once a month or something, and I'll notice like almost 75% of my audience is women, but I do get a lot of dudes coming up to me, and like I think that their wives like kind of drag them into it at first, and then they get into it. I because it's there's something about like spending a Saturday at a nursery or in the garden and doing stuff. It's just fun. Like and the time flies. That's
It
the only
does.
Oh yeah.
that's the only thing about gardening that really stinks is that when you're doing it, the time goes by really fast. Like
Yeah.
it's so
It literally
crazy.
happened Sunday where my wife's like, just go. I know you're backlogged on stuff. And I went out there and it's like, boom, 4 hours went by. And I was like, holy
Dude.
cow. And I
I try to
fortunately
set a
looked back and I was like,
timer.
I made a dent. Yeah, setting a timer. That's good.
Yeah.
I like if I'm out gardening, I try to be back in the house by 5 o'clock if I can, because then I got to save some time after dinner for the evening wander. That's what I call it.
Oh,
That
that's
that
And
good.
yeah, I totally I'm with you in the same boat. Usually I'm like telling my husband or we're supposed to go out for dinner. I'm like, I'll just be 5 minutes. I've just got to go water my plants or
Oh,
something.
hmm
And then
yeah.
they're screaming like, we're getting late, you know. So
Yeah.
oh my gosh, time just flies, right?
It
Right.
does.
You
It
Well,
make me
it,
does.
feel better. I'm not alone now anymore hearing
I
that. Where I'm like, I'm
know.
just
You're
going to look at
never
something
alone.
real quick. And then like 20 minutes go by. I mean, I would even say like the first in the morning when you go out to look at your stuff, like I'm like, I got to go work in the garden.
oh shoot.
Minutes, I am
Yes.
drinking coffee and just walking around. I'm
Yeah.
just hanging out, like taking in everything. And Grace is like, "We got to go soon." I was like, "I haven't started yet."
I I I found it's all a lot. I mean, time management helps. So
Mhm.
what's really cool is I work. My office is right across the street from my house, so I can come home on my
Dang.
lunch break, eat lunch at the
Uh,
house, and so right
hmm
when I get
Mhm.
home, I come home, I turn the sprinkler on one zone, I get my food heated up, come outside, start the other zone, and then get to go out and sit in the garden with my dog and eat lunch. Like it is
Oh, that's
so
so nice.
nice.
I am
It's
literally
so
so
nice.
jealous right now.
Oh my god, it's so nice. It is so nice. But it's about like just time management, like Phil was saying, like setting a timer, like if
Well,
you
that
know
was
you'll
Des, yeah.
yeah, oh Des, yes,
No, Phil
yes.
can have the credit though.
I need the timer, but yes.
But it's so wild because I know you do turnkey garden installations, Raish, and there's a lady here in Houston. There's a couple ladies here in Houston that do it. Houston Garden Girls and Monarch Garden Company, and I didn't realize like how much of a demand it was for people to get like turnkey like garden like installed in their backyard. Like it is in high demand. They're having to turn people away. I didn't realize how crazy it was.
No, it is so crazy because I'm not joking. I have a garden installation next week. I have a garden installation the week after, and then again in May. And I'm doing it like in Pennsylvania. I'm driving an hour out. There are people who are reaching out to me, even from like Connecticut
Wow.
and other places in upstate New York, which are like an hour and a half away. And I have to say, I'm sorry, only if depending on the scope and size, that maybe I would take on something that's this far. But I think this is in huge demand, and I don't know if it's something that started during COVID, that people started, gardening and thinking really about their health, and they had the time to focus on those things and to be
Right.
present as well, to think about things a little bit more authentically. And it stuck. And really, to be honest, all of us, value our health. We're reading all these things about all the chemicals in the food, and cancer in people who are under 50, under 40 even, and things like that. So people are paying attention to what they're putting in their bodies. And if you can grow something in your backyard and have someone else take care of the big work, which is the raised beds, putting in the soil and putting in the plants, and all you have to do is really harvest and tend to it. People don't mind spending a little bit of that, and I would say people consider it an investment. And that's what
Yes.
when I tell my clients,
Right.
it's not just about the beauty of your space, such as like with flowers and landscaping, but this is an investment in your health, especially when you're growing organic food. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, and they even have like it's like a subscription service where you pay, and they send out someone every 2 weeks to check your irrigation.
Wow.
They'll pull up like old plants and plant new ones, like, and
Oh,
they'll
wow.
they'll spray like foliar fertilizer or whatever, do whatever they want. I was like, man, that is a cool business to get into. I was like, man,
Yeah.
It is really cool. And yeah, I mean, I don't send out people to go in and maintain it every 2 weeks, because that's a lot of commitment, as well. And monetarily, it depends, how much time you put in and what the revenue is in comparison. But I do offer my clients seasonal change outs. So come
right.
every season, especially maybe because I'm in the East Coast, I guess, compared to Houston, I guess, or in Texas, it would be different. But here, I would offer them a seasonal change out for spring, for summer, and for fall, winter, so if they want to extend their growing season. And I would say like pretty much 80% of my clients come back to me for these seasonal change outs.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you offer
Wow.
like some sort of coaching services as well. So you
Well,
can teach them. Yeah.
Well, and that's what they were saying, that a lot of times they do it for like a year, and
Yeah.
because they just don't have any idea. Like people who are new to gardening, and these are more affluent, like they're spending some money on
Yeah.
these beds and stuff, and so they just want to get an idea of like what they should be growing, and then after a year of doing like a subscription like that,
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, well we know we need to be planting okra right now. We know we
Yeah.
need to be, and it's kind of like a garden coaching like little session, because a lot of them will be they'll schedule them to come when they're home so they can watch and see what they're doing. So
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, it is quite expensive with raised beds. You can imagine the price of lumber. I know, Phil, you were building out your was it your greenhouse or something? But it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Nope.
And so there are so many different ways that you can grow. You don't have to have gravel. You can do wood chips, and there's so many free resources available. And so even just being a part of some sort of a community garden or an allotment can give you the opportunity to learn if you have the time. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and
Absolutely.
some people don't have all the tools to, like, because yeah, I mean, you can go out there with a empty garage with no tools, and you can go buy the lumber. Then you got to buy a saw, and you got to buy an impact, and you got to buy. So sometimes it's actually cheaper just to pay someone to do it, or it's
Yeah.
easy, or sometimes it's even easier to like, people ask me about like the Vigo beds, the metal raised beds. They say, oh, they're so expensive. I was like, well, think about the price of lumber and how
Yep.
long lumber
Yes.
For
lasts,
sure.
So I mean, it is definitely an investment, but I've done wooden beds before and they don't last as long as like the metal beds, but I think the wooden ones are sometimes more aesthetically pleasing though.
Yeah.
They definitely are. I'll say it. I think some of these wooden beds are really. I saw someone. I think it was like in Kentucky or something, and they had a bunch of stones, and they made the raised bed like it looks like a chimney. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
Wow.
made out of stone. I was like, that is so like that would be really cool if
That
you
is
had
so
them laying
cool.
around.
That is so
I
cool. And I just tell people, if you don't have the budget to invest in raised beds, the price of lumber is so expensive. Just start with containers. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really low commitment. It's easy to move around, and it doesn't cost as much. So it's a great way to start, especially for beginners, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I
And
most
if you do have a property, like my first gardens as a kid growing up, I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in Amish country, and like I was in a development that used to be a farm, and so the soil was actually still good. So our garden was
Yeah.
all in the ground at the time.
Yeah.
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 Well,
That's awesome.
And I got a comment on one of my videos, and it was like, I can't understand why people do raised bed gardening. I can't understand why people do it. Uh, People who live in subdivisions know why you raise bed and container gardening, because the soil is
Yeah,
garbage.
it's
This
terrible.
the soil they use to make these plots to build these subdivision houses is like the worst free cheap soil you can possibly get to
Oh,
build
it's so bad.
foundations on. So good luck trying to amend that soil. It doesn't drain.
Mm-mm.
You got to go above ground. You got to go. That's the reason people.
Wow.
And then it's easier to amend when you
Clay.
bring your own soil in. It's just so much
Yeah,
easier.
I think raised beds for me it's a big plus because in New Jersey our native soil is really heavy clay soil.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It takes I would say if you add compost and everything, it's not that you can't amend your native soil. You can, but it will take, you know, at least 1 or 2 years by adding compost every season and amending your soil to make it rich. Wood chips help a great deal as well. But also, you know, that is one thing, but also for gardeners who are just interested in just starting right off the bat, they don't want to wait that long. You can just fill your raised bed or a container with the best soil that you can possibly access, and then you're ready to go. And you can, you can get instant gratification. So
Hmm.
that is a big plus as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like the only thing,
Plus,
like
save your
when you,
back.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
and I can see the value of time when you want a
Yeah,
turnkey thing. You can have it way sooner than, yeah, tomato seeds cost $5 or $2, but until you get all the accoutrements to create a garden, by the time you've realized on the road where you could jumpstart it with someone like Resh's program, and then you're like
Mhm.
ready to go, and you're ready to learn.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
totally.
and
I
and I
love
th-
it.
I think a lot of people, and I used to be this person who didn't. When you start a garden, you think about your plants, you think about the pots, you think about your beds. You don't think about the soil. And
Hmm.
soil is probably the most important thing that nobody cares about. Nobody wants to talk about soil.
Preach.
I've got a buddy. I got a buddy
I want to talk about
does.
soil.
Well, most people, soil's not sexy. Soil is not sexy. I got a buddy who runs a soil company
I
here in
don't know about
Houston,
it.
and it's so hard to it's so hard to market. It's like because people just want to know, which bag do I buy. They want to
Mhm.
know. When I get questions, they're like, "Hey, which nursery do I need to go to get this?" Which I'm like, you just need to get the best quality of stuff you can get
Yeah.
locally.
Hmm.
Locally.
Right.
Hmm.
Um, so I got a question here. Where people are asking us questions in the Facebook chat. If y'all have a gardening question, if you're watching on Facebook right now, drop in the comment section. And of course, the first question is a fig question. Uh,
You know it.
from from This is from Rachel. A recommendation on types of fig trees to grow. Located in Georgia, Zone 7B. Just
Nice.
started following. Love your content. I'm a beginner gardener and would love any advice you could give. Phil, I'll let you answer that one. If go to fig that you could find in Georgia.
Go-to fig, 7B. It probably depends on. No, Georgia gets pretty humid all over, but you're going to want that hardy Chicago or Mount Etna type. They're awesome. They will, if they die back, because 7B, you'll get those random cold spikes, and you will not have to worry about killing the fig. If it does die down to the ground, it'll come back every year for you, and it'll produce fruit in a timely fashion. So look at hardy
Hardy Chicago's
Chicago.
are getting easier to find. A lot easier to
They
find.
are good. They're getting a lot easier to find. And there's some nice variants of them that I'm growing too, like Sal's L. Marseille Black is a really nice one. And there's another variety that I have, Al Maria, that is, it's Italian in origin, but as are all Mount Etnas.
Yeah. Well, let's get a question. Question for my master gardener friend Des. So David Lehman wants to know recommendation for a tall, thin tree hedge for privacy fencing for patio.
I do not know, but I do know this. Do
Yes.
not plant bamboo. You could do bamboo in a container, but
I,
honestly,
What zone are they in?
yeah,
oh,
what zone?
this is right over here in my area. So like
Yeah.
for non-natives, I would say like a Japanese yew or
I was
a
going to say Japanese yew.
Japanese yews. They will go straight up and they're
Yeah.
really beautiful. They can be a little bit more expensive, but Japanese yew is typically if you go to a nursery, that's what they're going to try to give you, a Japanese yew, and they're really beautiful. They were really well. Um,
Also, plant something for your area. Okay,
Yes, well,
I'm
and
done.
yeah, no, and if you can find some native options, you can get some fruit trees and stuff like that. Phil,
Yeah.
Phil, what do y'all see mostly up there for privacy and stuff?
Oh, up here,
Yeah.
there's what are those arborvitaes that grow? Those green
Hmm.
giant things that grow pretty fast, but
Ooh,
they
yeah.
will get knocked over by a hurricane pretty easily.
Okay.
But then people have those cypress ones that you see that grow up vertically,
Oh
and we
God.
definitely have lots of Japanese yew as well.
I do not recommend cypress trees. I do not recommend cypress trees unless you got some property and you're going to put them by a pond. You know why? Because
They need it.
my grandpa's got one, and they have what you call knees. Cypress
Yep.
have
Yep.
knees,
Gonna
and
trip
so
over the knee.
you'll plant them, and then they come up and they go down. It's like the Loch Ness monster.
Wow.
And so when you're mowing, you go clunk, clunk, clunk,
Yeah.
clunk,
Yeah.
clunk,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they love to come up and get when you see like the swamp movies and you see those big like spikes coming out of the water, those are cypress knees.
You know what else
Uh,
about cypress
uh,
knees? People used to cut the knees off and sell them as like souvenirs and stuff. It was like a thing, and now it's illegal to do that.
Really?
why?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, because most of them, like, especially if you think about like, Louisiana or whatever, they have the cypress trees and the knees are in the bayou or whatever like that.
Mhm.
They're like, they want to just preserve them naturally. You
Yeah.
know, it takes a long time for cypress knees to grow, but they are also part of the foundation of like the bayou, I believe. So
hmm
I don't know. My aunt was
We
telling me
have
about
that
it.
here in Wilmington on the coast, and you can see when they die, that's a form of that's a good indicator of saltwater intrusion over time, and they don't decay,
Yeah,
and you have that Spanish moss hanging down.
yeah.
We have a huge azalea festival every year. It's like the first
Ooh.
Wow.
weekend in April, and so a lot of people have huge azalea bushes that people hedge with here, and then camellias, but camellias are a little slower growing, but they can get huge here.
I
Mm.
love camellias. Rach, do y'all do ornamental installs too, or like do y'all do the whole backyard design or just the beds, stuff like that?
We do the whole backyard design, not just the beds. We do the whole backyard design, including like for one of my clients or maybe two of them. We've even done like bluestone patio, like paver seating area inside the garden. We do
Beautiful.
fencing. So one of the installs that's coming up, because in New Jersey, our biggest problem is really truly the deer. They will eat everything and they're everywhere, you know.
Y'all have deer
So
and bears, right? Y'all have bears and deer.
bears, I haven't seen a bear yet.
Yeah.
I always like to say
Hopefully
yet.
you don't. Hopefully you don't.
But the deer are like everywhere. They're like
Yeah,
crossing the road like pedestrians, pretty much, you know.
Yeah.
if you need to see a deer in New Jersey, you just open your eyes, and then there's one.
Oh my
They're that
gosh.
common, really.
That's amazing.
There's so many. So for a lot of clients, when we're doing gardens, for one of them, I think I might have a picture in my book. For one of my clients, we installed arborvitae for privacy. I don't know if you could. Let me see if I can show you this
Tell us the
picture.
page number. We'll scroll over
Page
to it.
number is 10. And then you can't see it on page
Oh, I
16,
love
but
that.
you can see it on page 10.
Somebody show me.
That
Do
looks
you
really
see that? The
good.
arborvitae at the back?
Wow.
That's the fence.
That's the fence as well as so
Wow.
that's for the privacy. And that's the same garden that's over here, right here in
Okay.
summer.
Ooh.
So that's the
Oh,
arborvitae at the back. You
whoa!
can't tell as well.
Look at that contrast.
Yeah, such a
That is
contrast,
so
right?
cool.
So
Wow.
the deer will eat the arborvitae though. So we had to put those inside the fence and not outside. But they grow really tall, you know, and if you want like an English garden, a French garden look, it looks so beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so
love that. No, I
Gorgeous.
y'all do really good work. That's I guess I can ask you that. So like, I get a lot of questions when I post content, and they're like, "Is that deer resistant? Is that deer proof?"
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
my comment is always, "Nothing
No.
is deer proof if they're
Nothing.
hungry enough." Because
yeah.
someone had said fig trees were deer proof, and I'm like, if they're hungry enough, they'll eat whatever.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah, I
true.
had a person tell me that their fig tree got munched all the way down. I was like, "Geez, dear, come on now."
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there anything you plant up there that is the deer will leave alone?
No, anything that's edible, anything, like you said, anything edible is not deer proof. So what we do recommend is fencing. And there are two options for anybody listening. One, of course, is to have a fence that's, people say, 6 feet. I would say at least 7 feet tall so they can't jump over, and they are afraid. So we've done fencing and we've done gardens, and ever since we've had a fence that's that tall, they don't jump over. The second option is, if you don't want to invest in such a tall fencing, then to have like a double fence, something shorter, so that, it makes them feel a little bit afraid that if they jump over that they'll get stuck. So, if you have shorter
so
fencing,
smart.
but you have like one fence, then have like a couple of feet and have a second fence, then that helps as well.
I had heard that that deer would, and I don't have that much experience with deer, but people were saying that if you don't leave a bunch of space, so like if you have like more of a narrow garden, if there's nowhere for them to see where they can land, that they typically won't jump over it as well. I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't
Well,
want
I'm
a
not
real
sure,
narrow
but
garden.
but you know what? Recently, I found one of these products, and one of my clients is using it in her garden, and she has found much success.
Someone
So
is asking about your book, and I was like, it's
oh,
right
they
here.
are.
I just need to hold it right here while we talk.
Thank you. So, I wanted to tell you, I found this one product that you can stick into your soil or your raised beds or whatever you have in your garden. And it has these radio frequencies that kind of send the deer away. Now, maybe some people who might be more sensitive can hear that, like a low buzzing thing. But otherwise, you don't hear it, and it's there, and it keeps the deer away. And like, I swear, I think it does work. So it's worth checking out. I think it's
That's
like,
good. You know what it
yeah,
doesn't work on? Squirrels.
it doesn't. It doesn't work.
It definitely worked
you
on my
just
next door
gotta make
neighbor, Josh.
friends
He
with the
he heard it.
squirrels.
He's like, Phil, what is that thing in your backyard? I was like, what are you talking about? It's for the squirrels. He's like, I can hear it. And I was like, dang.
It's
So
it's like
They're
that.
rascally little critters.
It's like, what is it, like? Is it Taos, New Mexico, where there's like a ringing and people go insane? There's like a town in New Mexico they call Taos, and there's like a
yeah,
ringing that only certain people can hear the frequency, and people like lose their mind and like go crazy from it. It's so weird.
that's a bummer. It's like a ski resort, right?
Yeah, well, I'm telling y'all right now, if you want to get rid of the deer and you want to get rid of the squirrels, what you need to do is get you a copper rod, put it in the ground, get you some crystals, hang you some quartz and some I don't know,
Put
some
out the good
Justin,
vibes.
why quartz? I want to hear your input on.
take you some pyrite, because you're too cheap for gold, and just hang it up there, and just let it hang, and it's going to scare off the squirrels. That's what you need to do. I
Make
But
friends with
something
them.
else.
So my black opal.
Oh yeah.
Something else that I've read that can help with deer is fishing line. Have you
Oh,
heard of
really?
that?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's so thin and invisible, so it doesn't spoil the look. And if you don't want to invest, in all-out fencing, like put some fishing line or fishing wire all the way through, and that keeps them off.
Someone had also told me like fox. You can buy like
Oh Lord.
fox urine. Like I'm not making this part
Listen,
up.
Home
You
No,
can
I
buy
know.
like yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
Coyote.
You can buy like fox urine, or if you have a dog, like I'm telling you, like I've heard people say they put like fox urine out around
It's like
their.
$200 an ounce. What a guy who found that.
No, it's
But
not that. It's not that expensive. No,
but
it's not
I'm
that
just
expensive.
it rains and then you have to keep spraying that. So imagine how much of that you need.
You're gonna want to subscribe on Amazon
Also,
and get that fox
How are
urine
we
coming once a
subscription.
month.
how are we capturing this fluid? Like
I
yes,
looked at
yeah.
I look no
I don't want to know really.
I looked this
I
up,
said that, but I don't want to know.
and
You
their
looked it
pins.
up?
Yes, because so in high school I played a prank on this
Oh Lord.
girl, and it was the meanest prank ever. We had like a prank war where we were like putting shaving cream on each other's cars and stuff. We went to Academy and I bought fox urine or wolf urine, whatever it was, and I put it on like in front of her windshield
No.
where it would like drip into the AC, and
Oh
her
no.
car smelled like fox urine for like a year.
Destin.
And I was like, how do they find it? They have like in or what do they call them, reserves or whatever, and they train the animal to come to a tree and they urinate in like a trap and it collects the urine.
Oh,
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
So
not
that's
as
a business.
nefarious as I thought.
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
That's a business. I wonder if it's like the website's like, get to know our foxes. And it's like, this one's Dean, and this one is like Casper. And you're like, okay.
Oh my God! So Felicia's in the house right now, and they sell fox urine at Smith's Garden Town. Swear
Yeah.
to God, she said
No.
that.
Yeah. Also, like, Repels all
Yes.
apparently works too. I don't know. It smells terrible. Like, don't.
I have a deal with Bonide, and they sent me some. I'm gonna try it out once the possums start coming from my figs.
I
it's just
have a
granules. You
pest
just
that
put it
I'm
out.
dealing with, if I can bring it up, is
Go
these
ahead.
red mites on my grapefruit trifoliate hybrid.
I saw that.
I saw that.
Spidermites?
Red mites, no, the red ones. I had them on my kumquat before I killed my kumquat like 3 years ago, and I decided to dump a bunch of DE all over it. But now I don't want to hurt my good bugs. But I'm ready to fry the mites. Were like, I had to do something, and then I did neem, and neem wasn't getting rid of them the right way, and so I'm leaving it on for a week, and I'm seeing if it does anything different. But I was told to check into like was it kaolin clay? Is that right?
Kaolin clay, yeah.
Yeah, kaolin clay, and apparently
Like
that is
surround,
also a
right?
good alternative. Yeah, it's like brown. You make it in a moisture, and you can spray
Like
it
a
on the
slurry.
trees. Mm-hmm.
Really?
But the DE, diatomaceous earth, made from diatoms.
It's ground up dinosaurs. Let's just say it's ground up dinosaur bones. Is what it is.
No, there's single cellular organisms. It's way different.
Yeah, it is. Don't make Phil get started. No.
They're exoskeletons. My master's research was in foraminifera, which are similar, but they're not unicellular like good diatoms are.
So you've had good success with DE. I've never had like
This
DE
is new to
help
me. I'm
for
trying
anything.
it out.
I have.
You've had good success with it?
Yeah,
Or
but
you used it?
not using it on like in a foliar application, but I occasionally, if I have too many pill bugs in the garden, I don't know, I will put a little ring around my tomato plants of the diatomaceous earth, and it keeps them off of it. So that's my biggest way that I use the diatomaceous earth, actually. And I don't like to spread it too much because it can also it can desiccate your earthworms. So I like to be really careful with my application of it. Yeah, so it kind of like, yeah, I like to be careful.
Phil, have you tried rubbing alcohol?
Yeah.
I have not, but I could try it. I could totally try it. It's just I got like a thorny 3-foot tree, and I was like, what can I just douse this thing with?
I have the recipe for that on 123.
This
use
is great.
that on
Having
my
the book
Spidermites.
and you together, this is like the best.
That's page 123 of Vegetable Gardening with Resh. Vegetable Gardening made easy.
Oh, here we go. Rubbing alcohol, soap spray, and rosemary oil. Chapter 7, page 123. No.
I'm like the kid that showed up to class unprepared.
Well,
like, hey, can I see your textbook?
I was very surprised at how well insecticidal soap works. And insecticidal soap works for a lot of stuff. Even if you just take some Blue Dawn soap and put it in some water, some soapy water. I had the only thing that was getting rid of the what do they call it? Glassy winged sharpshooters. They were all over my crepe myrtles and my figs. The only thing that was taking them out, the pyrethrin didn't work. The neem oil wasn't working. The only thing that was taking them out was the insecticidal soap or the Blue Dawn soap would kill them. But I haven't had much experience with DE. I've tried it before, but didn't really have, like I said, much success with it. A lot of people I know that have chickens use it, and whenever they change out their bedding, they'll throw it in there. It's like mites and stuff for their chickens. That's what I've heard. That's really, but I don't know.
I hear mixed reviews about using it in chicken keeping. Not to pivot to that, but just because it can be sharp for them to breathe in. So if they're using it in a dust bathing application, which I know some people swear by, it's not necessarily, I don't use it for that purpose. Instead, I like to use First Saturday Lime, to be honest.
I'm not going to grow anything over there anyway.
Yeah. Well, and is it like, so I've used cinnamon for ants. And
I
cinnamon,
use that too.
I've used cinnamon for ants.
Yeah, and so cinnamon will help out as long as it's dry. Once it's wet, is that the same thing with DE? As soon as DE gets wet, is it still good?
Washes
Yeah, as
away.
soon as DE gets wet, it's not effective.
Because it's like an asphyxiant, right? They breathe it in, right?
Yeah, so basically they breathe or they eat it in, and basically it cuts up their insides, and so they die. So actually, diatomaceous earth, this could be controversial, and everybody just, do your research, but I've read somewhere that some people even consume it like, food grade diatomaceous earth as a calcium supplement. I haven't tried
carbonate.
it, but I've read something about it, which is quite interesting. But
just drink milk.
Exactly. Exactly. But because the particles are so fine, anytime you're using DE, you must wear a mask. So important.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Otherwise, you're breathing that stuff, and it's bad for your lungs. Yeah.
Yes.
I got a comment over here. So for Spidermites, I've also Felicia said citric acid, which I've used orange oil for ants and stuff like that before. We used to make Medina makes an organic orange oil, and I think it's like 2 ounces of orange oil per gallon of water for like a foliar feed. And then you can do like I've actually done it for ant piles in my yard, and it's worked out really well. You do 4 ounces per gallon, like in a 1 gallon bucket, and then you drench the ant pile. And that I think it's called D-limonene is the chemical in the orange oil, and it asphyxiates the actual ants.
And it's the fire ants we're talking about.
Is that organic?
Yeah, orange. Because so the orange oil you get like at Home Depot or whatever for like cleaning wooden furniture, it's all the same thing. It's all it's like usually it's Medina organic orange oil. Now, I've used it.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it smells better than neem oil.
It smells so good. It smells so good.
Man,
I am not a fan of neem oil.
I kind of like it. I kind of gotten used to it now. It's like it smells like spring to me. It's like, oh, I'm about to kill some freaking squash vine borer.
I'm just worried about suffocating a plant, though.
I have not had that problem.
Oh.
But
I scalded one once.
Growing up in India, we used to have like neem trees. And I know every spring, just right before the season would change, it was a family ritual, and so many people still do it to this day, where they would take the leaves of the neem, fresh leaves of the neem, and make some juice out of it, like how you have kale juice and stuff, like little shots. And it's so incredibly bitter. I cannot explain. Like you need to have a spoon of honey after that.
I cannot imagine.
That to boost your immunity so you don't fall sick. But it's not neem oil. It's like the leaves of the neem. It's like a plant. So
don't drink neem oil. Do not drink neem oil.
Don't drink neem oil. But it's so interesting, like growing up in India, we had, if you ever had chicken pox or something like that, you would bathe in leaves that were steeped in the water, like neem leaves steeped in like water. And then you would bathe in that water to prevent that itchiness and things like that. It was just very medicinal. Yeah.
For me, it has like a eucalyptus kind of smell to like, I like it. I kind of like it.
It's not the smell for me. I mean, I'll use it on indoor plants for sure, but I don't like to use it outside. Because I forget about it. I don't rinse it off. And then if it's like in the sun or something, I scalded one of my tomato plants once. It was like a thing.
Yeah. See, I never have problems with scald. I've never killed a plant from neem oil because the dilution rate is so low. It's like 2 ounces per gallon. And then I'm also mixing in like my Microlife Ocean Harvest, like my liquid fertilizer, and using that. And I'm going like very late in the evening. So like if the sun goes down at 7:30, I'm spraying it like 7:15. And it hasn't affected my pollination rates. It hasn't affected my bees. Like I'm not going out the next morning and seeing bees and everything like it was a war zone. None of that. I mean, none of that. And so, and I'm not getting the leaf burn because I'm doing it so late in the evening. I'm doing it so late.
That was
I
my
think it's
mistake.
important. Yeah. No, I think it's important whenever you're using any kind of pest control product, even if it's organic, to be, very responsible with it
Uh-huh.
because
Yep.
you want to, at the end of the day, attract the beneficials and not harm, not harm the bugs as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, if it's good food, everybody wants it, right? The moment
Yeah.
the moment the insects stop wanting it, it means that your food isn't good for you to eat either,
Right.
So
Yes.
even like with DE or something, I know once when I had a really bad case of cucumber beetles, even if you do use DE, put like a bag or something like that over it, in the evening. And then, so it doesn't, other insects and stuff don't sit on it. So it's important to be a little bit responsible. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to do something like that then. I think the one thing I waited till all my citrus was done flowering, and then I could see
Yeah.
the fruits come on, and
Yeah.
then that now I went and went after that. Just that one is the problem. The other ones don't seem to have it, which I'm kind of. But I've isolated the plant and I've covered it, and just monitoring to see if it is successful. But I keep it from blowing to other places. I think I will
Yeah.
cover it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and there's also another reason to be spraying like your insecticides or like your fertilizers in the evening is that for the fertilizer purpose is that the stomas actually open up. Like they've shown studies that the foliar feeding can actually absorb more micronutrients than regular granular fertilizer. So I have had really good results doing my foliar feeding with fertilizer like Microlife Ocean Harvest or whatever in the evening. You can use like Alaskan whatever the foliar feed. But I've had really good success in the evenings, and I really haven't burned anything up. So that's weird.
That's great.
A quick question, and I've gotten a bunch of these questions this year. Has it been a bad roly-poly season for everybody this year,
Oh my
or
gosh,
what?
yes.
I
I've
get
got
a
slugs and snails too.
I get a million roly-poly questions every week. Do y'all have pill bug problems up
I
there,
don't have
Rich?
I don't have a
I do
problem
not.
now.
Oh my gosh.
See,
I
I,
mean,
I don't find it a problem because usually they're just going after decaying material. Usually, if everybody that's commented when I get DMs or questions, people say, "Hey, something's eating my plant." Well, do you know exactly what's eating your plant? You
Yeah.
know, and someone was like, "Oh, I had roly polies eating my plant." Well, was it already sick? Was it already looking terrible? Had something else already eaten it up? And then the roly polies are kind of just a cleanup crew. They're typically this. They're unless like I was at Skip or who was it? Is it? I think it was Skip Richter saying that unless there's so much of a population of roly polies that they run out of like decaying material to eat, and now they're going after good stuff because there's just so many of them.
wow. I think it's
I've
important to keep
literally
your
seen
yeah.
them
Yeah,
doing it.
really.
Yes, I have. And I can even show you exactly what the nibble marks look like. I'll try and take a picture for you later. I'm not kidding. I have this problem right now. I had it last year too. I literally actually saw them eating the tomatoes, like the tomato stems around the base. Yeah.
Wow, they eat tomatoes and tomato
They ate
stems?
the stem. Yes.
Wow.
I was like, they don't like climb up the plant necessarily, but they take enough nibbles out of the base of the plant that like suddenly I was like, oh, I really despise roly polies now.
I just don't know what you would put down to affect the roly polies that wouldn't affect
DE.
everything else. You know what I mean? Because they're so in the soil that if you put something down that's going to penetrate the problem with like stuff like cucumber beetles and roly polies and snails is you got to put down something that's going to penetrate the exoskeleton or the shell. And so if they're in the ground and you're putting something in the ground that's going to kill the roly polies, what are they going to do to the earthworms? What are they going to do to everything else?
Yeah.
And so I don't have an answer for how to get rid of the roly polies.
I
I've heard
like this
people leave
cowling clay.
potatoes.
I want to go for this.
The cow. How do you spell it again?
It's on page 127.
127.
Let me flip.
But
Oh yes.
the bird, yeah. Because that was the comments
You
when I
guys.
posted about it. They're like,
I
try
keep
it.
giving it away for free. Give it away for
The
free.
kaolin clay. Yeah.
There's too much
26.
info in here. We could do this the rest of the episode. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
possible.
Raish has all the answers. We can just end the live now. We can just go get her book now.
You go ahead. Last 15 minutes. Tell us everything.
But
Well,
I wanted to tell you, like, you had started this recording the podcast with talking about soil, right? And how important good soil was. And when I first started my gardening journey, I'm a self-taught gardener, and I didn't know anything about the importance of soil. And I had hired a landscaper to build really small raised beds for me, and he had filled it probably with soil from some sort of a construction site. Like, it had rocks in it. It was like, it was awful. It was just so bad. And so, poor old me, I didn't know better. And so I'm like, why isn't everything growing? And not just that, but when you have bad soil, the plants cannot be healthy. And that was attracting so many pests and bugs. And it was just a disaster. Like, my husband would be like, this is ridiculous. All you do is spend hours in the garden looking at the underside of leaves. And I'm like,
you don't understand.
Well,
I've been there before.
That's why I have my book now, because I'm like, I can recognize the pests and I know what to do about it.
Right.
Some would say you did the groundwork to get it right.
I did it. I found them and I did it.
Right. Well, and when you're having pest problems, you definitely, I wouldn't go for just an indiscriminate killer. Don't go for an indiscriminate killer. Find out, when people send me DMs, like they say something's eating my peppers. What do you know what's eating your peppers? Because there's a million things that could be in your peppers. Could be a deer. Could be a deer, and I can't help you.
Yeah. I think number one, it's important to ID the pests, and number two, always start with the the easiest option, which for me is always like spray them off with a jet of water. That's the easiest thing to do. It doesn't harm anything. And that's my first line of action always. And, there's a really nice little, small little book. It's called Good Bugs, Bad Bugs. I don't know if you've heard of that. I think it's by the University of Illinois, or the extension, from the University of Illinois.
I don't have that. I know. Well, I don't. Okay. I have this one. I have this one, and it is really. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, so mine is a really small little book. It's got it's probably spiral bound or something. And it has a picture of the pest. And behind it, it says, what you can do to take care of it. And so there's so many bugs out there. Obviously, there's so many that we don't even know of. So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep. Good. Yeah, I think so. Is it the University of Illinois? One of their agricultural extensions or something?
I'll have to scroll down here. No, this one's a horticulturist, Jessica Walliser. Maybe she was there.
Oh, Jess is the editor for my book.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yes.
For the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Okay. Check that out.
Jessica Hendricks. No,
Jessica Walliser. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
But this one, this Good Bug, Bad Bug, it's a small little, like almost a cheat sheet diary or something like that. I probably have it upstairs. I'm in my basement right now, so if you guys want, I can run up and
post it. Post it in your stories later.
I will.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll do that, and I'll tag you.
Yeah. Post.
That's a good point. Like I don't worry about Spidermites because they don't like wetness, and so like I literally will just go in my greenhouse and I'll just spray it down in the morning. I'll mist it all. It kind of cools it off. I mist the ground and make sure it's all wet, and then I have not worried about them. And if I have seen them, I just do that, and they don't like it.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, because spider mites usually they occur the most when it's dry and hot, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. But then there's so much of all this conflicting advice at the same time. They say, oh, you shouldn't get your leaves wet. You should just, water at the soil level. And then when you do spray your leaves with water to get rid of the bugs, you're like, am I doing something wrong? Like, I guess you just do your best, right? That's what it is. And
that's all you can.
You do what works. Yeah.
Yep.
And for your area, like what works for me in the humid Southeast, it would be different for some parts of Texas. Texas seems to have every climate because it's gigantic. And then,
oh Lord, yeah.
Des is in a pretty dry area. Her place stays pretty. They don't get a whole lot of rain in Austin.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't been getting a lot of rain lately.
It's so funny. All the people from California moved to Austin, and then it stopped raining in Austin.
Yep, that's exactly right.
That's what happened. And then guess what? It started raining in LA.
Well, a
That's
lot of
funny.
them moved to
Did
North
you see the
Carolina
rain in
too.
Dubai?
They did. They did.
Yeah,
What
that was
about rain
crazy
in Dubai?
flooding.
That's
Oh
crazy,
yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
saw pictures
Crazy
of people's
flooding.
cars floating in car garages, like
That's
in
so
the
wild.
parking garages. Crazy.
Yeah. But Dubai is so interesting because I know in these areas in the Middle East and everything, they have these rain clouds that they actually, um, the rain falls, it's actually automated, where they
Yeah.
control the system. So it's
What?
very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi,
yeah.
they have like air forces, right? And
Oh,
they find like I forget what is it, cumulus clouds or whatever in the area, like and they go up and they
cloud
do
seeding.
something. Yeah, they find the cloud and they like kind of trail it over and they make it rain like once a week in Abu Dhabi. It's weird.
What?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. It's true. It is
That's
yeah.
true.
amazing.
The technology actually in this, this is not a conspiracy podcast,
It is
but
not.
the technology got developed
Facts.
in Vietnam.
Wow.
The U.S. government used to make it rain on like the North Vietnamese area so that they couldn't get supplies that they would use through certain things like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
look it up, Google
Wow.
it. I'm not Eddie Bravo, but Google it.
All right.
Just Google it.
I have to Google it.
Yes, yeah. So it's pretty wild. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world nowadays. It's flooding in Dubai. I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Yeah.
My
Every
goodness.
so often, I guess, because if it does rain, that ground is not designed to
It's
absorb it.
hydrophobic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so sandy that it can't, absorb it. And they don't
Just
have
runs
such
away.
good they have they don't have such drainage system like we do because obviously we expect the rain.
Right.
So it's different. And so that's why the flooding happened because, yeah.
I feel so bad for all their Ferraris flooding in their parking garages and their mansions. They were saying like the police officers in like Dubai like drive like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff.
Probably.
It's a very wealthy place in the
Different.
world.
Very wealthy place.
Yeah.
That
Well,
oil
hey,
money.
where's everyone's status with like their gardening and their plants? Like, Resh, do you have everything in the ground now? Are you past your last frost and freeze?
No,
Oh
not
yeah.
yet. Our last frost is May 15th. Yeah. So
I actually
it's about a
saw.
month to go.
Oh
So
my
what I have,
God.
so what I have in the ground is really all my cool season veggies. I have like my peas and carrots. I have bok choy, lettuce. I even planted some fennel this year. I'm growing something different because
Ooh.
I've never tried growing it.
Oh,
And I
nice.
love the fronds. They look so pretty. And so yeah, I
Hmm.
have a lot of my cool season veggies right now.
What about your favorite plant, kale? I know your favorite plant is kale.
My favorite plant is always kale. I love, I love growing a lot of different varieties. There is the
Hmm.
curly kale, the blue curl Scotch kale is one of my favorites. And actually, the curly kale doesn't attract pests as much as the dino kale, which is more flat. I've noticed that. It's very interesting. So I have the dino kale, I have red Russian kale, I have the blue curl Scotch kale. You ask me about kale, I can talk about it all day long. And
Well,
then I
now
do
I'm
my kale
excited because
juice.
I have a bunch of the blue kale because my dino kale by the mid-May, it's getting smoked by bugs. Like I just give up on it and I chop its stem off and I wait for it to come back in the fall because it's not worth it.
Wow.
But
And
I'm excited that the curly kale, it will be at least a
Yeah.
little more sustainable.
and for me, it's just something I grow over winter. It's like
Wow.
it's just something I grow over winter with my cabbage and stuff because right now it would I mean everything's all my brassicas and stuff already bolted.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean
Yeah.
it's
wow.
And cilantro gone.
I mean we haven't hit
The
90
collard greens
yet,
bolted,
but
yeah.
we've been close.
It was
We
87 today.
You
yeah
know,
It was
it is.
87 here today.
yeah.
Oh wow. It's I think we had a high of 57. Yeah.
Lucky.
You get that
But
nice
it
long
was so
spring.
fascinating. Yeah, it was so fascinating for me. Last year, I planted broccoli and kale. I usually, grow a fall winter garden and I cover it with hoops and farm grade plastic and things like that. But I planted my broccoli and kale last year, August 23rd. That's what the tag says, which was, I
Okay.
think, a little bit late. I usually should have planted it by, end of July, early August. And it was shocking. Nothing grew, like the broccoli didn't form heads and the kale was a little bit small. But this spring, like in February, which is so unusual, right? It's still cold here. I had broccoli heads growing and I harvested like 4 big broccoli heads,
Wow.
broccoli florets, and massive kale.
Wow.
And it's like, this is what I mean when I say easy gardening, that, I don't even water my garden in winter. It's
Yeah.
autopilot and nature just wants to grow and survive. And so you have to just give it that chance and just try. Don't pull things out. Just give it a try. It's very cool.
No, absolutely.
That's really cool.
Now,
Yeah.
winter gardening should be easy because that's the time when we take a little bit of a break. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
so when do you like start your tomatoes? And so like when do you start tomatoes? Like your seeds?
So usually I used to start them in mid-March before, but now I've started growing my tomatoes a little bit later because they tend to grow so fast any which way.
Yeah.
And and one of the things I noticed is with tomatoes, peppers, and all these warm season veggies, if you plant them out when nighttime temperatures average about 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, they actually do better. So you can plant your tomatoes, on Mother's Day, like for us, last frost date. I have tried pushing back planting tomatoes even Memorial Day weekend, which is, pretty late.
That's
like
crazy.
2 to 3, it's crazy. And they catch up and they do so great. And so I feel like it's fine. So I've just recently planted. I put my tomato seeds into soil blocks. I'm into soil blocking these days.
Oh, you're one of
Saw
those.
that.
It's so fun.
I saw that too.
So
It's cool.
Some people,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that at
Amazing.
some point.
you have to try it. It is just shocking.
It's just so much easier to put them in like I got those really like indestructible like trays,
Yeah.
So I would love to try just as an experiment though.
You just have to try it. I'm telling you, I was so blown away because my blocks are just 2 inches by 2 inches. So you're saving on so much soil because when I used to grow them in solo cups before, and you're putting in almost 3 times or 4 times the amount of soil in one solo cup to grow one seedling as you would in like a 2-inch by 2-inch soil block. So you're using less soil. You're using less plastic, or rather no plastic at all. And even instead of 10, 20 trays, I've started growing my soil blocks I put them in these baking sheets, which are like washable. And then I know with my solo cups, I used to have to wash them at once the plants are planted, I obviously want to reuse my plastic cups. So I wouldn't throw them away, but I would like wash them clean. It's such a chore. And this time I'm like, I just have to wash 1 tray. That's it. It's really cool. I love it.
I saw your recent video too. So if anybody's watching this, she just posted a video about this on her page, and I was watching it earlier. It was such a good video.
Well,
I'm inspired.
Nice.
I always think it's really cool when like you see the soil blockers, they take like the 1x1 little one and they stick it into the middle of I was like, that looks cool.
That looks fun.
Yes. I was gonna tell Phil this because he has some of the same trays that I have, those propagation trays. I actually put my trays in the dishwasher. I hose them off, and
Wow.
then mine are
You did tell me
like,
that, yeah.
mine are dishwasher safe. Like mine are the ones I've got from All About the Garden, which there's a link in my bio.
Link in my bio as well.
Yes, link in Phil's bio as well. But
That's cooler.
They're not made. They're not made in China. They're made out of 100% recycled materials, and they're dishwasher safe. I literally put them in the dishwasher and then I store them in my garage. It's
They
nice.
changed my perspective on like propagating figs, and that's where like when I saw you use them, Destin, I couldn't believe like how close you can get things together, and it
gets
Resh,
a little
I can relate
sketch.
to you. It's a little sketch, but like I can use less soil and I can get the system going. That's why I can relate to you, Resh. Like using less soil, you can be more efficient with your time, and then I can just up pot them as needed, and just go to the next round.
Plus, I love gadgets. I love the little punch. I love that. I just want that, and I just want to do it. I want to.
It is so satisfying. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I've been enjoying that a lot. And one of the interesting things, I don't know if you're running out of time or anything.
No, we got time.
Okay, so one of the interesting things though with soil blocking, I used to think that, if your container size or your seed cell is really small, then your seedling ends up being stunted because it doesn't have space to
Yes.
grow. And that is absolutely true when you're growing in seed cells or containers. But what is shocking with soil blocking is even though it's so small, 2 inches by 2 inches, the seedlings are like humongous. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how is it not stunted?
It's called air pruning, right? The air pruning.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's so cool. The
Yeah.
roots get air pruned. And so when, it comes in contact with the air, they don't grow anymore. And so the plant sends out new roots.
Yep.
And so it's growing stronger and healthier and bigger. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Ooh,
It's very cool.
that's so cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna try it. I've done so many things like that I would normally not, but I do stuff for content. Like I did the electroculture for content. I'll do that. I did the ladybugs for content, which I won't do that again. Don't buy ladybugs; it doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
But like I'll do the soul blocking, and I bet I'll like it. The only thing I don't like, I don't always like getting my hands dirty. I don't like always getting like my hands like nasty, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it comes
That's
from
my favorite.
I used to wear
I still have dirt
contacts.
in my
I
nails
like
from
to
this
like-
play in
morning.
the dirt.
Yeah, I used to
Make mud pies.
I used to wear contacts, and so having to take them out, I would like get my
Oh.
eyes like all nasty.
Yeah.
But I don't wear contacts anymore, so it's gotten so much better. I don't even wear gloves most of the time now, so like
Yeah.
it's so much nicer.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to try it. Y'all got 15 more minutes? Phil, you got to run anything like that? You got 15 more minutes?
I got
Y'all
15
good?
minutes. I can do
Cool.
15 minutes.
Yeah, we'll do 15 more minutes. The reason I asked this is because someone's asking about vine borers, squash vine borers. So
Oh,
Raish, you're the most furthest north, so you probably get the same amount of pressure, but in a compact amount of time. So like, what do you do for vine borers? Like, what is your number one tactic?
To be honest, they can decimate your plants so quickly, and you need to first of all perform some sort of a surgery. This is what I say. I know it doesn't sound good. If you feel icky about it, wear your gloves, or get your hubby or somebody else to do it. But you need to, you'll see it starts turning like this yellowish thing, at the base of your stem, especially with zucchini plants or even
This is
sometimes.
after they're already infected. This is after they're already
Exactly,
yes.
after they're already infected. Because sometimes you take the best of precautions, but it can happen. It's very common. But so you need to slice that part where you think the squash vine borer has, gone in the stem, especially the zucchini. The stems can be pretty thick, right? So you do that, and you have to extract that. The vine borer out and bury the stem under the soil. So, that's what I suggest. But other than that, I know people say, having these collars and everything around the base at the time of planting. I mean, you could try that, but I don't know how effective it is. But yeah.
It's funny you were saying that once you cut a squash, I've actually had a squash that the base where I direct seeded it, I planted it, and it came up, and then I must have had a squash borer or something because the one end, like the towards the middle of it, got infected, but it kept growing. They will grow roots. After I saw it was like infected, I went ahead and buried it, and the squash plant will actually grow roots and continue to grow even if the original root system is destroyed.
Yes, that's
yes.
that's
Oh.
absolutely true. It's absolutely
Yep.
true. And
Especially with the zucchini varieties,
yeah.
the zucchini varieties. The ones like throw out tendrils, like your patty pans. They're a little more hairy, and they will definitely throw out roots.
Oh, yeah.
With zucchini also, I like to grow, sometimes I like to grow my squash vertically upward.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever tried that.
Oh,
I mean, it's just the cover of my book. I don't know if you can see, but that yellow thing, that's actually a lemon squash
do you mean
growing
this book?
vertically.
Vegetable Gardening Made Easy by Resh Gala.
This
No,
book.
but you see that yellow
Yep, it's
dot
this book.
behind me? That's a lemon squash growing vertically. I say, I don't have
Lemon
space. Listen, I have a small garden. So just, keep them off the ground.
That's a great
so
reminder
pests
to
can't
grow
get
things.
you.
Think three-dimensionally. You can grow
Well, it
things
saves time.
upwards.
Yeah.
It saves space. Like I was saying, a lot of like the zucchinis. Like I know particularly like the patty pans or the flying saucer squash have tendrils. Not all squash have tendrils, But the ones that don't, you can weave them in and out like a cattle panel or something like that. I tend to tell people to be more preventative rather than reactive. Typically, once you see that moth flying around, it's already too late. You know, if you see that moth, it's such a cool. What sucks is it's such a cool looking moth. Like the squash bug moth is really cool looking. It's yellow or it's blue and orange. And so I tend to be proactive. So as soon as my squash, which I've direct seeded this year, it starts coming up and producing blooms, I'm going to start spraying like almost immediately neem oil once a week, going up underneath the leaves and around the base. If you've had issues with vine borers in the past, you need to clean up your raised beds because the larvae will hang out in the leaf litter and the bark and all the wood chips and stuff. So you got to be kind of precautious, not proactive rather than reactive when it comes to squash bugs, in my opinion. And I've had very little squash vine borer damage. I've had squash bug damage, but not squash vine borer damage in quite a while, using that weekly neem oil method. But like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I'm spraying very, very late in the evenings, like almost darkness. I'm spraying neem oil, and I have not had issues with pollinators. But you just want to be careful.
No, and I find that especially, with brassicas and if you're growing kale or, even with cucumbers as well to prevent those cucumber beetles, for example, I really find that covering your seedlings, like when you plant them in the ground, cover them. Literally, that's the best method to keep majority of the bugs away. Put in some hoops. You can get these ladders from, Home Depot as well if you want to. And just cover it with like insect netting, ag fabric, whatever you have, and that allows the rain and the air to go through, but prevents those, those butterflies or those bugs from laying their eggs on top of your plants. And I think that is really, the covers work so wonderfully well, especially at the time, at the time of planting the seedling. Once you see flowers, and with cucumbers, of course, once you see flowers in your squash or your cucumbers, etc., you want to take the covers off at that point so they can get pollinated. And with cucumbers, you also have, these self-pollinating varieties, like Beet Alpha as well, which is so cool.
Number one variety, Beet Alpha.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would say covers are the best bet, if you don't want to spray anything. Yeah.
Right. And also know that stuff like, just because it's called a cucumber beetle doesn't mean it only eats cucumbers. Just because it's
true.
Just because it's called the squash bug doesn't mean it only eats squash bugs. The one insect that I can never beat is the leaf-footed bug. I cannot beat it no matter what I do. Leaf-footed bugs, they're often confused with stink bugs. When you squash them, they smell the same. But they take my cherry tomatoes and they'll just suck them dry. They'll suck the liquid out of them. And I had an infestation of them. If you have a lot of mulch around, you're gonna have them. I've talked to Skip about that because I cannot beat those guys.
I started. I learned how to identify their egg trails, and I started squashing them or cutting that leaf away. And then throwing it away in another county, and it worked great.
You tried to another county?
Well, I'm being facetious, but
yeah. Well, I mean, and people need to know, like, if you're going to be like an organic gardener, you're going to work a lot harder. You're going to work.
You're going to just have to pay the nature tax a little bit.
Well, I mean,
nature tax.
It's a war. It's not one battle. It's a war. But you can also intertwine with the the other soldiers.
I grow organically, and I tell my clients and anyone else who's listening, like use companion plants. It really does help, especially garlic and onions. I mean. People say garlic can keep away vampires. I mean, literally plant a border of garlic around your garden, around your vegetable garden. It does help. The smell does repel a lot of pests. Even, around your tomatoes, garlic and tomatoes are great companion plants. So
Yeah.
having, rosemary, oregano, all these things that give out this really, nice smells do tend to keep those, pests away. And also, plant like pollinator gardens and flowers and things like that can attract the good bugs, that can take care of the problem for you as well. So you have your soldiers in the garden.
That's
Yeah,
what
That's
I'm
a great
about.
reminder.
Yeah.
I try
I'm
to do
taking.
that with I have 15 green onion plants, and they're just all strewn in there, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that does the trick. I'm newer with that strategy, but fingers crossed.
Yes,
Yeah.
chives, green onions, garlic, all that helps a great deal for sure.
Yeah, the more
Rosemary as
odoriferous,
well.
the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odoriferous. I'm using big words like that,
Odorous.
guys.
Yeah,
Odorous.
odoriferous.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, I
Melodious, odorous.
melodious. I've been playing a bunch of basil and a bunch of stuff like that this year. I'm kind of nervous because I put it in my raised bed and it was next to another pot, and I'm already seeing basil pop up in other spots, especially like basil can spread pretty easily. I'm finding out.
Yeah, I love that actually. It's my favorite. When I find a volunteer, I pick it up, I put it somewhere else. It's my favorite. I'm just like, oh, look at you, you're out of place. Let me just take you and put you over here.
You could stay here.
You can never have too much basil.
It's true.
Yeah.
We eat pesto twice a week in my household, and maybe because I'm Italian, but
Italian.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
We
Give
love
it to your
pesto. Oh my God.
Pesto. I sneak spinach into it. My kids eat it. They don't have a clue.
They don't know.
Spinach.
I make pesto not just from basil, but Phil, no, I know Italians love their basil pesto, but you should try making pesto from carrot tops. The greens of carrots. Oh, it tastes so delicious. Just mix that up with, put the green carrot greens, so the carrot tops, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
With some pistachios, some olive oil, Parmesan, garlic, salt, and some lemon juice.
Y'all are making me hungry.
It is so good. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Although I do like to use I'll use, instead of Parmesan, I'll use pecorino, and it's a little saltier. And
You fancy.
Yeah.
You fancy.
We do a mix.
Oh, you blend it. The blend.
Yeah.
And we make pesto also out of garlic scapes. I don't know if you've tried that.
Garlic scapes? No, but that would be really good.
Oh, those are so good.
New level unlocked. I'm going to try to get some EXP points. Let's do it.
So you know what? In fall, just plant some hardneck garlic, and that's a variety. And if you plant hardneck garlic, they grow scapes. And so for us, it's around this time, like I would say May or so. About a month before the garlic is ready to be harvested, the scapes grow, and then you cut those off, let the garlic continue to grow, and then use the scapes to make the most delicious garlic scape pesto. Wow. Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I've seen people frying them up in stir fries as well,
Yeah.
using the scapes. So do you have to cut the scapes off of garlic, or can you leave them? Because I know they bloom, right? They'll just start to bloom.
They will bloom. Yes, it's
Take
ideal.
energy from the bulb, right? Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I knew y'all would get along.
Totally right. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
well,
So
if you garden, I probably get along with you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Well, guys, I know Phil's got to go make some pesto, so we'll go ahead and we'll shut it down. But real quick, Des, where can everybody find you?
You can find me everywhere. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube,
You can find me
TikTok,
everywhere.
Gardening with Des, 2 Z's. However, 1 Z on Facebook because somebody stole my username.
You guys are all tagged in the live. You're all tagged in this.
Yeah. Go find me. I'm talking about pollinators. I got a great butterfly video coming up.
Awesome. Yes, you will frequently find her hunting down caterpillars and cocoons in her backyard and possibly feeding squirrels peanuts.
Basically any bug. I love bugs.
Oh my goodness. Resh, thank you so much for coming on. Let everybody know where they can find your book and what you got coming up.
Thanks so much. My book, Vegetable Gardening Made Easy, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Indigo, bookshop.org, so lots of different places. But you can find me personally on Instagram. That's where I'm most popular, I would say. My handle is at Resh Gala, which is RESHGALA. And you can also find me on my website and reach out to me that way if you wish. That's www.reshgala.com.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Resh Gala everywhere.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mr. Phil's Fig, the Fig Daddy, the Configliere. Where can we find you,
The
dude?
Configliere. You can find me anything. If you type in Phil's Figs on the internet, I will pop up. But you can find me a lot on Instagram and YouTube. I have a channel there. And you can find me at philsfigs.com. I will have fig trees by the end of the month. And I'm actually going to be having a giveaway coming up. Details soon.
Oh, if you don't follow Phil on YouTube, you definitely should, because he will do giveaways from time to time. He definitely does giveaways in the comment section of his videos. Do any of y'all have events coming up or anything like that?
This weekend at the Eagles Dare in Wilmington, North Carolina, we're doing an Earth Day event, and I'm doing it with the plant ecologist Gabriela De Souza, and I'll be selling fig trees there. And then if anybody is in Wilmington in May, I will be presenting on figs at the Tidewater Camellia Club in May. So
come put links to that in the comment section after the live.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Raish, anything like that? Any book signings? I mean, you had a book signing not too long ago. I saw that.
I just had a book signing last weekend, at my local gym, which was awesome. We actually sold out.
That's
all
awesome.
the books. Like, I could not believe it. It was just amazing.
Yay!
Yeah.
So just really happy. So I have another book signing coming up at Barnes & Noble in Bridgewater. And then I'll be doing another signing probably in June at Nick Kitchen, which is in Pompton Lakes in New Jersey. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll be putting those dates up soon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If you have anything right now, put it in the comment section of this. Des, are you going to come to Belleville this weekend and come to our thing? You want to drive to Belleville. It's not that far from Austin.
I know it's not that far from Austin. I don't know that this weekend is the weekend though.
Yeah. I need
to.
Yeah, I know. You need to come see me and Jorge. So I am Texas Garden Guy, Destin Noak, and I will be at Belleville Garden Center, Bellflower Garden Center in Belleville, Texas. There's links to everything in my bio. And I will have fig trees for sale, $20 1-gallon figs. So we will be, I'm running out of room for fig trees. I'm running out of room. I've got brown turkey, Italian black. I got a bunch of LSU purple. So I'll have quite a few with me. I'll bring about 20 or so with me. So $20, preferably cash. And we'll see y'all there. We'll be there from 10 to 2.